In Geometry 1, we learn the basic functions in geometry. In Geometry 2, we go into more functions to draw parts. In geometry, we use the import function to bring parts in DXF format. We bring in two parts to learn how to use the relocate function. We want to form a matrix of the square hole inside the part. We want to have 9 square holes on the horizontal, so in the dialog we enter copy 8 times. We select inbox and we select transfer to copy and transfer the square hole 8 times. We select key in for point and we key in the transfer of the geometry coordinates from 0 in x and 0 in y to 20 millimeters in x and 0 in y. Next, we form the rubber box on the square hole to copy it 8 times in 20 millimeter steps in x. Next, we want to copy the row of horizontal holes 4 times vertically. In the relocate dialog, we enter copy 4, inbox and transfer. Being still in key in for point, we define the transfer of geometry coordinates from 0, 0 to 0 in x and 20 in y. Next, we form a rubber box around the row of holes to duplicate them vertically 4 times in 20 millimeter steps. In the ring part, we want to have, inside the ring, 12 equally spaced holes of 5 millimeters radius. We check the inner radius to be 60 and the outer radius to be 80, so the holes will be on a 70 millimeter radius. For point definition as center, we indicate on the circle and draw a 70 millimeter radius. For a full circle, the 4 90-degree sides are nodes. We select node for point, draw a 5 millimeter radius and trim the inner circle. To have 12 equally spaced holes in the ring. For that, we enter in the relocate dialog copy 11, inbox and rotate. For the rotation angle, we enter 360 divided by 12, which gives us a 30-degree angle between holes. We use center for point type for the center of rotation. Next, we box the small hole to get 12 equally spaced holes in the ring. We will now continue to learn more drawing functions. We erase the screen using the delete function. Then we use the box 2 points function to create a rectangle of 220 by 120 millimeters. Inside the rectangle, we want to draw an ellipse with the center of the ellipse at the center of the rectangle. This way, we will get a rectangular part with elliptical hole. To find the center of the ellipse, we draw a line mid-curve to mid-curve inside the rectangle. We select the ellipse function and enter 100 for the major axis radius and 50 for the minor axis radius. We follow the instructions on the lower left and locate the center of the ellipse by using the mid-curve for point type on the center line. The instruction on the lower left asks for an indication on a direction line for the ellipse. We indicate on a horizontal line and the ellipse is drawn. The last thing to do is to trim the center line that is not needed anymore. Now we want to change the upper part of the part to a spline. We use the graphic function half scale to allow for more room, and we trim the upper border of the part. We want the spline to have a saddle shape. We select the spline function and subfunction direction ends. A direction end, unlike a free end, implies that the first or the last point of the spline is not part of the spline and used only as a direction point for the spline beginning or end. We select node for the point type, then select the direction point for the start of the spline and then the first point of the spline. We switch to indicate for points and indicate the following points for the spline. To end the spline, we switch to node and select the last point of the spline and the direction point for the end direction of the spline. Using the right button for functions, we select to edit the spline. We edit the spline points to get the shape that we want, and we complete the spline with the end spline function. Now we have a part with a spline and with an elliptical hole. To learn more functions, we use the import function to import, in DXF format, two parts. Our objective is to modify the left part to look like the right part. We go to the dimension module to check which dimensions we want to modify the left part, and we go back to geometry to do it. First thing we do is to round the square edges on the right side of the part. We select arc 3 lines in the circle arc function and we indicate the 3 lines to create a round corner. Next, we trim the half circle and the lines that are not to be included in the part. Then we want to create the 250 millimeter radius on the left part. We select the 2 points plus radius in the art function and key in 250 for the radius. The instruction on the lower left tells us to select the first point, and we use node for it. Then we are instructed to select the second point. Please note that arcs are always drawn in the counterclockwise direction. Next, we are instructed to indicate the center side, as the arc can be on either side of the line. We get the arc and we trim the line. Next, we want to create the angle of 120 degrees in the lower middle section of the part. In function line, we select line angle to create an angle from a line. We enter the angle of 30 degrees and the distance of 150 millimeters. We select node for the point of angle stop. Then we indicate to select the node and indicate next to the line and on the side that we want to create the angle. After trimming, we go to function verify, subfunction angle line to line, and we verify that we got the required 120 degrees. That we want to do in the part is to create a 25 millimeter offset inside and around the part. We use the offset function, enter 25 for the offset, and indicate inside the part next to the perimeter of the part. With this, we have two identical parts on the screen. We can draw parts, we can import parts in DXF format, and we can also get parts from the shape library. We use the create shape icon, and from the shapes we select a star. We modify the dimensions to 200 and bring the star to geometry. Next, we select the star with a dimension of 150 and add it to geometry inside the bigger star. More functions in geometry that will help you to prepare parts for cutting. Those functions can be observed and learnt by running the tutors in CCut. Included in the tutors is tutor cut text, to cut text of any font and any shape. Also included is a tutor scan and cut, to scan and cut pictures.